Hello, gamer family, and welcome to the final episode of the Alex Studio Backlot Podcast.
YouTube thumbnail.
YouTube thumbnail. Oh, and now I actually gotta take the YouTube thumbnail. Oh, no, I want to do it later without the table. That's right. Consistency. Anyways, this is the final one. As you can see, Brandon's unfortunately not here. We've attempted to record this a bunch, and multiple times last-minute cancellations. He just wasn't able to do today. Josh is going on trip, and this video is already too close to upload date, so it's like, okay, we're going. Plus, Josh is here. He's the important one. He's the one that needs to be here, because today he is talking about, and this is where you get the intro now.
What if I just put in like 5 minutes of silence instead of,
Why the hell we all
Ethan's here.
an hour early?
Because we're recording an episode of the Alex Studio Backlot Podcast, Ethan. We're talking about D&D today.
Talk about
Wow.
D&D.
D&D these nuts.
Got him.
My nuts did get D&D'd.
All right.
I think that was a good intro for D&D.
It's a great intro for D&D. All right, so I'm going to be talking about the Isle Kingdom of Kelder, my first D&D campaign. A lot of our firsts.
I think
And
all of our
it's
firsts.
It's all of our firsts, except for James, but he wasn't able to make it, so that means it's all of our firsts. I'll get to James eventually. It's okay.
Uh-oh.
So to start off with the inspiration for the campaign, whole thing started with Alex's middle school Jimbob video. Every few months, I go back to the I'm Jimbob video, and I post some eldritch horror, some type of deep, meaningful backstory to whatever Jimbob's doing.
Check the comments. There's like 20 comments, and it's all back and forth between me and Josh.
Because I just every time I'm reminded myself of, oh yeah, Jimbob, let me go write some weird, trippy comment, and then Alex turned that bad boy into Alex Point. I'm like, okay.
I gotta open up this video now. We got it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Such a good video. It's a quality video.
No, it's the definition of a shit post.
The thing is, it's an important video. Doesn't it start the new age Alex Studios?
I mean, the original, I wouldn't say so. The thing is, in middle school, I was in a multimedia production class, so we made, so we did this skit, and I took a character introduction, 4 seconds of the movie, and turned it into a video. And I just had that sitting in my school Google Drive for years. And then in 11th grade, Zach was actually here. We were in the computer lab, creative writing. And for some reason I saw on my drive, and Zach was like, that is rancid. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to upload it to YouTube. On the school computer, I logged into what was at the time Alex in Disneyland and uploaded a damn video.
That's where it started. And then Alex made Alex Point based off of with Jimbob.
You're forgetting
as the
about
villain.
Jimbob 2 the Jiminy. Because
Yes.
Because you were talking about a sequel in the comments, and I was like, you know what? Fine. So, like...
And I love that sequel so much. It's so meaningful.
It just gave me a chance to play around with, different camera exposures. Yeah, the oldest comment 3 years ago, Josh saying, same. You're not Jimbob, Josh. You're Arden. You replied, don't at me. I can be both. Then I replied, of course, at me. At Jimbob. We are at Jimbob. No, we are Arden. That was the first one. Sometimes when I'm alone in my room, I sit in silence. My thoughts are the only noise. Thoughts so loud they echo and amplify until the sound is deafening. Like a man turned to stone, I am petrified. A cerebral sarcophagus keeps me in place. That is until I remember those 2 words. Like God parsing the clouds to let the sun's rays shower a starry field. I'm Jimbob. A father meeting his son for the first time. The final word of good news from a doctor after months of worry. The ephemeral beauty of a peaceful land untouched by man. All of which pale in comparison to the crushing waves of calm that washed over one as those words are heard. I'm Jimbob. I wonder, what if I'm Jimbob? I am quickly reassured that I am, in fact, not Jimbob, and that he is good. I think to myself, good. That comment was one of the ending of that comment was one of the things that inspired the Jiminy. Then there's 6 replies, and then you reply to yourself, banger video as always. And then I responded, Josh, what the fuck are you talking about? And
Can you check the timestamp for me?
This is
Does it
just
have a
says a year
timestamp?
ago. It just says a year ago on my phone.
I imagine it was 3 a.m. and I was super delirious.
Nope. Mid PM,
No?
because immediately after your next comment, I got to work. I'm still waiting for I'm Jimbob 2. The Jimining. It's time. Jimbob 2, you want a sequel? I don't want a sequel. I need a sequel. And then I just respond, And then I got off my ass. I went downstairs. I grabbed the camera. I screwed up some settings. I got an empty space. I grabbed some boxes I could throw, and I created it. And then finally, also 1 year ago, this one was pinned. Just classic. And I responded, of course, just completely like, why are you here? Jesus, what are you doing in such an old video at this time of night? How did you get here? Edit, Josh, why are you in my house? Edit 2, Josh, why are you holding a knife? Edit 3, Josh, no! It's been over a year. It's been a year since you've gone to that video, Josh. I'm proud of your restraint. So wait, that video was like actually the what led to your D&D campaign?
Yeah. Well,
I thought you were the sane one of the group.
Well, what officially led to the D&D campaign starting was me reading your script for Alex Point. I'm like, I've always wanted to write a D&D campaign, but I never had enough people that would be interested. I don't have like a story that like I was really like sold on, but having the cast of Alex Point and the script as a base, I'm like, this is perfect. I think I messaged you first and you said, yeah, go for it. Something along those lines. And
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's when I started. I started, I believe, after I gauged interest, and a lot of people were interested.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
pretty quick.
I remember, because I like texted Brandon. We were doing something that night. I think we just finished recording something, and you brought up the idea to me. I was like, yeah, sure. I texted Brandon, and I remember he's like, it's about time. And I know Ethan had the exact same reaction. It's about time.
Right. It's just one of us had to get the courage to like become DM, because that's the hardest part. Just somebody needs to commit to it. It's not if you're not OCD about rules, like if you don't feel compelled to get every single rule right, it's not that bad. But it's still a scary thing to start when you don't know a single rule. So yeah, I drew a lot of inspiration because I was interested in D&D for a while before. Like I watched D&D Beyond. No, that's the best website. Sorry, Dimension 20 is the one I watched a lot of. I watched pretty much several seasons from there. It's just a group of actors training together and doing a D&D campaign, and it's pretty much what we did. So yeah, go on.
Is this the one with Matt Mercer on it? Because I know
No,
Matt
that's
Mercer
Critical
does
Role.
something. Okay.
It's hard to get into that one because they take it. It's all voice actors, so it's very like immersive, but it's a bit too much for me. I like the silly theater kids getting together and doing hijinks. That's pretty much Dimension 20.
You just said actor, so I was like, I know Matt Mercer does a D&D podcast of some kind. Is it the same one? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's really funny.
I didn't realize how much impact Alex Point actually had on this.
It was pretty huge.
I thought
pretty huge impact.
I thought it was really just kind of the final push. I thought is some like obviously the way you said it, you always wanted to do. I didn't realize how big of a push Alex Point was though, because it just felt like you initially coming the idea to me. I don't remember the exact way you did it, but it didn't. I don't remember as like, oh, Alex Point's cool. Can I turn it into a D&D campaign? Nothing like that. So like, I never realized it was that connected.
It was pretty connected because if you see the general plot points, all I did was twist the main plot points, like the main ideas I wanted to keep, but just turn it to fantasy and throw my little twist on it. That's pretty much all I did. The death of the king, which is the death of the dad. Then they get kicked out. They have to go and do like a little rebellion. They gather some resources. They get some allies.
The villains are the same too. It's Jimbob and Flambino.
Yep.
You're plagiarizing me. I didn't even notice.
Sorry, Seth. What's up?
Wasn't the death of the dad also the time where Alex and Brandon died as well?
Yeah, that wasn't planned. That wasn't. We could get to that in a little bit.
Thanks for reminding me that, Alex.
I know we mentioned it with Cole, and Cole said like, "Oh yeah, I wouldn't have mercy when players are stupid. They're stupid." And then I was just, and then you started laughing, and all you had was eyes just sitting there like, "Oh." It's like that meme, Chuckles, I'm in danger. It's like, dude, that's exactly what I did.
Good. Sorry, where was I? I was talking about
the influence, how like Alex
influence. Yeah. So of course I did my own twists on everything, but we pretty much both did like hero's journey types. So that's why it seems more similar. But it is pretty like clone factory. You didn't have a clone factory and stuff like that, and you didn't meet all those characters. But yeah, the main influences was King Samuel, which is Uncle Sam. Clone Ethan's, because of the Clone Factory.
That's the one I did know. That is the influence I did know.
And of course, I don't believe it was said during the campaign, but and I don't know. I don't think it was an Alex point either, but it is a part of Basement Lore. Was all of our moms are Aunt Jemima?
It wasn't. It actually. The reason why it wasn't said in Alex point. It's just because Aunt Jemima's controversial, and like Aunt Jemima got removed from all the packaging, so I was like, I'm actually not gonna mention her by name. That's why I did. That's why Aunt Jemima's not mentioned in Alex Point. She's still our mother in Basement Lore, but that's why she wasn't mentioned. I was like, I don't think it's a good idea to. I'll just stick with Uncle Sam.
Right. I was going to mention their names if it was asked. But nobody asked, so they all were unnamed queens. But canonically, they are all Aunt Jemima.
That's really funny. I guess.
And so technically,
I just assumed that they all had different names. Because like I knew obviously in Basement Lore there was one mother. I just assumed that was one of the differences in this part of the multiverse. I just assumed, oh, that's just one of the differences in this area. Especially since originally our characters weren't our actual names. It was only Brandon that ended up keeping his character's name, and Trevor also is just Brandon Man, so... Even then, technically.
Yeah. So,
That's really
after all the influences, after eventually getting everyone to get interest, I think I pretty quickly started, because I know... If I have an idea, a big project idea, and I don't start immediately, I drop it because I get something else I'm interested in.
I'm the same way.
So I wanted to commit heavily and then think of the ideas later. So I started without any ideas besides they're all brothers, Death of the King, we need to recapture the kingdom, final fight with Jimbob. That's pretty much, that was my skeleton idea when I started. I immediately started by going to Home Depot and getting large sheets of XPS foam. And I made every single set, like all those little tiles that we had, the battle maps, completely by hand. It's I have these guys right here. You can see
No, that makes me wonder how many people go into Home Depot looking for D&D stuff.
Oh, I bet it's
More than
a
you
solid
think.
percent. Yeah. So I showed you, it was, I had this big one. It's a little hard to see, but this is the big tile. It has a big purple background because it's purple. How about if I do this? Yeah, there we go. Purple foam. So I cut it into, I believe I got 4 big pieces and a bunch of these littler ones. And I cut them with an X-Acto, and then I cut them halfway with a smaller X-Acto to get these pieces. Painted it once with a black layer of acrylic paint, then another time when it dried with gray paint. That took forever. So I had...
You showed... When I went to your house after we watched Guardians 3 last summer, you showed me the progress you were making, and it looked so tedious.
I was an idiot because I didn't want to spend $2 on a big brush. So I used a brush that was no bigger than your thumb to brush probably 8 feet by 8 feet of XPS foam, I think. Or maybe 2 4x4s. I think 2 4x4s. And that was...
2 is going to be going digital, I can tell you that. With what you said about losing focus when you have multiple projects in the works, that's happened to Kelder too. It'll eventually happen, even if it's next summer. But it'll be digital in some form. I want everybody in person, but I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
Mm-hmm. No. Yeah, but I also have other tiles. I made different types of tiles. I made the green tiles, which I took inspiration from, I believe, a civil engineer on YouTube that used a special type of glue to emulate the look of water. They use like a more natural blue to emulate like actual seawater, but I used a vibrant green to emulate ooze for the as like a byproduct of the cloning facility. And I thought it turned out well. I didn't buy enough. If I had more resources, I would have bought more and layered it on so it's even thicker.
Mm-hmm.
But that stuff is like $8 a bottle. And the bottle is like this big. And I'm like, all right, I did it once. I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. Because in total, I think all of the foam is $8. I'm like, I'm not spending... We'll get to that later.
What? You saw nothing.
Yeah, so it didn't turn out exactly as I wanted, but I think it still turned out pretty cool by giving it like a weird sticky 3D effect to the green layer. And then finally, the last piece that was used in the final fight was on simple poster board that I tore off the paper, so it's actually foam board now. And
And the wood tiles.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, that is? I don't...
Yeah.
Those were used for the final? I clearly can't remember. Oh.
The wood tiles were made with popsicles that I used wire cutters, like heavy-duty wire cutters, to snap the ends. And then I glued down using like normal wood glue onto it, and I just measured out so that it looks like an actual tiled floor. If you run your hand against it, I'm sure you'll get a splinter, but it looks cool.
You're so much more patient than me.
Well, the benefit of being that patient was that I was actually able to think of ideas as I was making it and then force myself to slow down. Because another big problem is that I dream too big, and when it's time to enact, you can never get there. But when you're doing everything slowly, you have a lot of time to convince yourself, there's no way I'm ever gonna create a 3-story battle map. That is so dumb, Josh. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that in a second, but
that sounds so cool!
So I reeled it back a little bit, made it all one layer, because I know if I'm transporting it to your house, multiple layers is going to fall apart, and that's just gonna add to chaos. So that's what made me, like, when I was individually painting things, I was writing stuff down in my Discord, my little personal Discord channel. And
I actually have access to that.
Yeah, I scrolled through it before this recording just to remind myself. Yeah, there's the one screenshot of all the tile stacks.
It's so thick. That many channels, and this is just Josh.
All the channels, I did it differently for the next campaign that I'm making. I'll talk about that later. But the main way I held my information was in one Google Doc and all of my channels. So it was organized that way. It's not one giant PDF like how I would like it to be, but it was good enough to do, which I liked. But anyway, back to the very first fight.
Mhm.
I was constantly writing down sketch ideas of like how I wanted it to turn out to be. So originally I had it to be 2 layers, where I dedicate some XPS foam, to create pillars and then popsicle staircases down, where Flambino would scurry up there, shoot at you from below, and you have to try and run up after him and then knock him down. And then the clones would like flood the little bottom layer. That was the main idea. But of course that in the end I squashed it down to 1 layer but added way more cover so that it still feels more than just a straight line. There's still like ways to dodge around. But in practice, it didn't turn out exactly as I thought. The plan was to push past the little weak guys who were pretty much just damage sponges but could only do like 2 damage per turn.
Yeah.
but it turned out they were a bigger foe for level 3 than I thought. Which made you guys tunnel.
Remember that, Seth. You remember that. The high health enemies and a bunch of them.
I didn't realize you guys would tunnel instead of push past them. Well, if Ethan was there, the main reason I did it that way, with all like the cover and the arrow shooting, was centered around Ethan, because he made it certain that he wanted to fly over everybody, like constantly with his air carper flight. So I'm like, okay, if he's like dodging enemies and flying over here, flying over there, he can pretty easily make it to the end in like 2 turns. But Ethan, I believe he wasn't there that day.
This was the second
Zach,
session?
Yes,
Oh,
Zach
yeah.
was here that day.
Combat was second session, that's right. And so we all huddled around Zach.
And this wasn't, I believe, intentional, but I was tweaking as the game was going on. Because I don't think I was going to make the pipes destroyable. But I was like, alright, I think these enemies need to stop or else they're never getting past the first section. So I added that mechanic. Like, I gave hints of like, okay, these things can be destroyed, you can stop the enemies spawning. And then, once you knew that the pipes could be destroyed, then you could figure out, because you could always destroy the generator, but that wasn't, I guess, entirely obvious. But if you knew you could destroy the pipes, you could destroy the generator.
You could have destroyed the generator so much earlier.
Yeah, so that was definitely my inexperience when designing the maps. But it was a good learning experience. I feel like the second map turned out much better. But
because while I didn't enjoy like the stories or any of that as much in the one and dones, the combats felt a lot smoother in your one and dones. The combats were the best parts there, as they felt really fluid. Where Isle of Kelder, I feel like it was the other way around, where combat was I didn't dislike it, but the story was the exciting part there.
Right.
And I think
yes.
taking like as interesting of a story as you had in Kelder and what you've learned gameplay wise since then, combining into one is going to be a great experience.
Yeah. I definitely think so as well. Since the campaigns that I bought one campaign, it's like $2. The other one was free for the one and dones. Yeah, I know it's shilling money. But they were pretty simple in story, which made me hesitate to improv, because I'm like, I don't know this one by like the back of my hand. I can't mold the world around my players' choices. I'm gonna try and just keep them back on track. But with Isle of Kelder, it was pretty much. Hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second.
With Isle of Kelder, it was what, Josh? What was it?
Alex, don't you like?
My mouth can open really wide. This is thick. This is thick.
Deep throat the mic.
I don't think
Sorry about that.
I don't think I can deep throat it, Seth.
What are you doing in my Christian Minecraft server? You could be banned for that.
I know, it's ridiculous. You can be banned from Minecraft itself now.
Alex, you need to put that in the quotes.
What?
I don't think I can deep throat that.
I don't think I can deep throat my mic. Anyways, I want to hear about that Western, because I've been in a Western mood myself recently. I was driving home from college, and I was like, you know what? I want to make a Western film. So now both of us are working on something Western right now.
That's
cool.
So
I want to know how you approach it. Obviously, my dad's a huge Western fan, so I have an advantage. I can just ask my dad for some trope ideas to make fun of in a parody, and I have a long list. I have a list of tropes and story elements that I'm going to be using already, but that's because I am related to someone who loves Westerns. That wall over there, you can't really see it without me moving my computer too much, but that bookshelf, before I took it over with my Fire Emblem and Doctor Who stuff, was all my dad's Westerns, and most of it still is my dad's Westerns, so I have an advantage that I don't know if you had. I don't know if you know someone that has Westerns, or if you are fully on your own to learn about Westerns. So I'd love to know how you're learning about Westerns, and then how you're incorporating that into your story.
Yeah. I don't know anyone who's super into Westerns. So I watched a bunch of Westerns on my own. I watched, of course, classic Good, the Bad, the Ugly. I watched Ballad of Buster Scruggs. That one's pretty good. I think Django Unchained.
Ooh. Yeah, it is a Western, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's some more, but I can't remember off the top of my head that I drew some inspiration from. But of course, I also did a lot of Googling of other people's analysis on Westerns and what makes them great. And a lot of them is just like the human perseverance of like trying to go through this really dangerous place to be and just trying to make it so that you can survive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's generally the idea that I brought into my second fully homebrewed, completely original campaign. Yeah.
So, since Isle of Kelder 2 is most likely not going to be this summer, if YouTube's dying for a new D&D series, will this be archived for the world to see?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. YouTube, that's the first time I've asked if I could record that one. So that was me live on camera asking Josh, "Can I make that a series? Can I use your work for my benefit again?"
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
and this
sorry,
is going to be. Yeah, so this is similar to Isle of Kelder. I believe this is kind of the idea of where I left off. This is a story where I completely know exactly which character's inspiration, what needs to happen, what each character would know, and so that if, for instance, in Isle of Kelder, I had it so that I knew what each NPC knew, and that helps you progress the story. If a player asks a question that's like, hey, do you know something about the catacombs? Something like that. You're like, oh, I don't know something about that, but I do know someone who would. So since I know the characters, I know their connections, or I could, if it's a really good question that might not come up again, I can move that information to this NPC, and now I've changed the path of the story so that it flows better and it's a more interesting time. Instead of having to ask every single NPC the same question over and over and over, like, hey, do you know Jimbob's mom? Do you know him? And everyone says no. So that's the benefit of like fully homebrewing and knowing all about your own story.
I guess maybe that is what I felt was missing with the one and dones. Now, obviously, Seth unfortunately wasn't there for the one and dones, so he can't back me up. But the one and dones just, they felt less flavorful, and I chalk that up to just being a super short story, trying to do it in one day. But even then, Isle of Kelder was dreamed up as a one and done, so I guess I guess that's a part of it, because as a filmmaker, like, I could take someone else's script and film it. I can do that, and I think I could do a good job. But I think I can make a better film, a better project with my own scripts, and that's something I've done this past 2024. Alex Point was only the tip of the iceberg for me. the more I get comfortable with my own writing skills, the more I get comfortable with my own directing skills, and have people that I can rely on, I feel like I'm able to fully explore these worlds I'm creating more, and with more nuance, maybe, than I had with Alex Point, where I was still very, very inexperienced. And I felt like, in some ways, I wasn't by the books enough, but in others, I feel like I was too much by the books, maybe even, where I don't feel like I have that issue now. And I imagine with your Western campaign, I imagine it'll feel simultaneously a lot more free than Isle of Kelder in the ways that it needs to be, but a lot more strict and linear in the ways it needs to be as well. So I imagine it'll have I guess, essentially that's a long way of saying it'll feel more streamlined. But I also, as someone who's like done a lot of creative stuff, the more you tell stories, the better you get at telling stories. So I'm really excited to see how you tell the story as well, because Isle of Kelder was already good, but that was previous. That was previous Josh. Present Josh has all the experiences of past Josh and is able to do better. So I'm really, really excited to see the Western. I'm actually really excited for it. Plus, I'm just in a Western mood anyway, so I'll be filming a Western at the same time that you're probably going to end up doing the campaign. So it's like,
I'm still gonna need a few weeks after I get back from break, because I wasn't able to add all of my ideas during final season. But after that, so it'll be like roughly before your second to last filming and your last filming of your film project this summer.
oh,
That's when I'll be starting.
Musical.
Oh yeah, RoboCop the musical.
Okay, so I can't believe we're saying this on podcast. So July, August.
June.
Well, late June, mostly July, August.
Well, it'll be the first session will be shooting for the second week of June, and then hopefully the third and the fourth. Yeah, man, that's the 14th, right?
Oh damn.
That's where yeah.
As long as you keep it to Thursdays, I'm good to go.
Yeah, it should be fine.
I'm excited. I'm excited. So Seth, I mean, me and Josh have briefly talked about D&D in the podcast before with Cole. Is there anything you're dying to ask? Because you have not discussed D&D in the podcast before, and you've kind of just been sitting there, rocking, listening, which is what Josh was doing when Cole was on. So
Yeah.
I'd love to. I imagine Josh would also love to hear your thoughts.
I actually kind of agree with Alex on a bit of a different point with talking about writing stories and stuff like that, because when I took a script writing class this semester, I found that while I love writing scripts and I like to see how I put my work forward, I am also like really curious to see how other people would incorporate my scripts and stuff like that. So I'd honestly, like, in fact, my professor, she actually said that she was looking for fiction PSA scripts, which is a script that I wrote for my final. She was looking for fiction PSA scripts to give to her next class to see if they can adapt it. And so I mentioned to her that I'd be willing to let her use that script because, yeah, I would love seeing how people would be able to adapt my work and stuff like that, and their vision of my vision and stuff like that. And as for D&D itself, I honestly had a lot of fun with this. I thought we were all able to... I feel like Josh was an amazing storyteller, even with having to come up with stuff on the spot.
He's good at improv.
Like, that is some really good improv.
Next improv video we do, you're in it, Josh. It'll probably be after RoboCop filming, and we'll make sure that you're in it, because you're pretty damn good at improv. And now, like, obviously, I've had a big hankering for a while now. That's not the right word. I don't know what the correct word is, but I've had a feeling for a while now from the Mario Party challenge videos that you would be good at improv. It's like, your Mario Party challenge video, Christmas 2022, you're Luigi having sex with Peach improv monologue is hilarious. It's maybe my favorite part of that video, actually.
And the original Flambino was completely improv.
Yeah, like I think you've been showing for a while. You've been giving lots of hints that you were good at improv, and then with D&D, you just really got to take it and run away with it. It's like, you know what? I've shown before that I can do improv, but now there's gonna be no more doubts. This is it. This is improv, and you did it phenomenal. You did phenomenal. And with what Seth said, like, I'm curious to see if you agree with this, Joshua. Obviously, as a creative, other people are going to use your stories at some point, especially when you're early in creative. But it's something that scares me because the way I write and the way I think about what I make is so... I'm thinking about editing when I'm writing. I'm thinking about filming before I even write. Like, I'm thinking really far ahead because that's how my mind works. So it's like one of those things of, like, I could give a script to somebody else, but I'd really worry how it's going to turn out because I write in a way that my mind understands. Like, my scripts, sometimes they're extremely vague in terms of visual descriptions, and sometimes they're way too formal of like, here's the exact things you're going to do, and neither of those are how you write scripts properly. And so, like, well, they work for me, and because, like, I'm already thinking about those things, like, I worry about that, so I just gotta ask, if you were to give all your story notes of Isle of Kelder to someone else, what do you think of that? Does that scare you? Are you worried about how it would turn out? Do you think it would be similar or completely different story-wise? I'm just really curious how much of the, like, obviously you have a ton of notes, but how much of it is extremely clear on there of what it is? How much of it requires the players that you had, and that would have to be different? Like, how much over-specific or under-specific do you think it is? How different? If James were to take your campaign, what would it be like? Or what do you think it could be like?
So, this is one of the biggest differences between Kelder and which, the name of the Western campaign, I'm going to name drop it right now. It's Heroes of Bane's Landing. Is my organization... What?
That's why one of the Discord names is changed.
I changed it, that's my D&D server. I'm just changing it to the name of the current campaign that it's on. Yeah.
Heroes of Bane's Landing!
Heroes of Bane's Landing.
I actually don't even know who's playing this campaign yet. I don't know the whole roster. It's me, Zach, James, Jay, Ethan, and Brandon?
Brandon, I texted Brandon, and he said he's going to be really busy, but he really wants to. So I need to see if our schedules match. If not, then, I don't know. Yeah, either Seth or I'll see if I'll keep it at, was it 5 instead of 6? I don't know. We could see it scheduling eventually. But, yeah, so the difference between those two is that my notes in Isle of Kelder are really scattered. They're all over the place because I know what's going on. I know what the characters are. I know where they're located. I know how the fights are going to work. I don't think it's possible for anybody to look at my notes, including my word notes. My word notes were a little more clear. They just put down, in this section of the town, here's this character, here's what items they have, here's what they might know. Go on to the next section. So it's pretty hard to recreate my campaign, especially since I based it off of, I like made several plot points that revolved around the characters. I made sure to ask you guys, all right, what is your character? What do they want? What does winning mean for them? What's up, Alex?
You're describing an Alex little movie.
So, I based off those characters and what they want. So, like, for instance, I wanted to make something that's designed for each character to shine, right? So I made Zach have secret lore that revolved around him decoding something that would eventually come in later. I made your character have that backstory that had the flashback with the queens and all that stuff. I made sure that because Brandon was a rogue-like paladin, he had rogue-like tendencies because he just wanted to be a little steely guy. I made a big part of his character to have him like I'll have a lot of inspiration to keep in the fight, which was getting him exonerated from the church. Like if he didn't have that, he might just leave. So I tied that into him so that he has a reason to go and take back the kingdom. And then I think Ethan with his monastery, since that's where his place of discipline was taken over, he needs to get that. Yeah, and gave a lot of people secret lore, a lot of people with backstories that just tied in. And of course, the main villain was very close knit into the main characters. So it's definitely designed around characters. So a new party with completely new ideals, inspiration, stuff like that, they won't really fit into this campaign. It's pretty custom. And of course, a new DM would have a very hard time figuring out what's going on. My Western campaign is very clean. It's very replicatable. It's currently in a very large PDF made by a website in Homebrew, which is just like Overleaf, which is a very nice text editor that has built-in, like it's like coding but for PDFs. So it's very simple code. It's like you barely need to do anything, but it makes it look really nice. I believe I shared the very first page just to get people excited in the Discord. And it looks nice, but that's probably the worst page I have. I keep on getting better and better and better.
As it should be.
Yeah, and so that stuff is pretty easy to have like give to somebody and have them figure out like what's going on. Especially since I only really know one character in the campaign. I know your characters, so I know 2 characters. But I haven't gotten a lot from other characters. Yeah, you and Ethan. Because you have a portion and he has a portion that's custom, but nobody else does. So that's why it feels to me right now at this stage that's pretty easy to like have a completely new cast, and you can probably do this campaign over and over and over. But the first one, I don't think it's possible.
Anyways, is there any last notes you want to do? Because YouTube, if you open your eyes, the background footage is over. It's done.
Oh no,
it's
ended.
Over. It ended. So any last remarks though? Because if you have anything else to add, we'll just do it in silence. Well, they'll do it. The background silence. You know what I mean.
I'll just do a quick evolution of the main boss fight. Just of like a few stages that it went through, because that was not at all how it's going to be in the end. It was originally going to be a very open floor, because I have special tiles that I've made that look like grass, and they have like texture to it as well. It's going to be like a nice open throne room that had accents of like a botany section, and you're going to fight the queen there with King Jimbob, who was as strong as a giant, and he was going to be like, it was going to be like the brawn and the brain type of fight, where the brawn is like doing all the damage in the front line, the brain is in the back doing spells. And the original gimmick of that one is that you can lead him around, destroy pillars, and have the ceiling crumble on him. But I was like, I don't know if that's what I really want to go for right now. And I evolved that later into eventually, I think it was going to be like I made a bunch of bookcases. I was going to use those as the queen like flies through bookcases, does like ghosts up to you. And like you have to try and like, I don't know, collect some mirrors pieces around the room, put them together and trap her in the mirror. I was like, maybe. But eventually I went into the possession route with Jimbob, with the pet dragons in there. And I feel like that was, because I wanted to have like less enemies, less things that would slow down the fight. I feel like that was at least like a pretty solid option to go with, so I'm glad I went with it.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, gamer family
Wait. There's one more.
I'm sorry.
I did say I wanted to say this first, and then I wanted to go into something else. I wanted to go into Easter eggs. There's a few Easter eggs in there in the campaign. We almost
recorded this episode on Easter. That is an Easter egg on itself.
So I think the first Easter egg, I don't know if it was sent on camera, but it was the name of the dwarf guarding the Tomb of the Queens. Darren? No last name?
You told me it off camera.
Yes. It is.
Actually, no, you did say it on it. You did say it.
I did say that was an anagram for Arden.
I don't know if you said it on camera, but you definitely told me that. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to to sneak that in. Of course, I believe Ethan caught this, but I just wanted to reiterate it. The first goblin of the Thieves Guild was the Great Mind Goblin.
Mind Goblin, these nuts.
Yep. That was always a good one.
The professor, I can't remember his name. That was one,
Yes,
right?
Professor Robert Essay. So I want to specifically say
That's
that
the one
since
that you said on camera.
his name is Prophecy, but I made nobody caught this part. It's Robert because it's robbed prophecy. Since I gave the prophecy from Ethan to Zach.
Huh.
Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm. And I guess we could talk about this little guy. The Among Us.
Geese.
Oh, the crewmate.
Yeah.
Sus.
I saved him.
Timothy Poppet was his name, I believe. Timothy Poppet, the little guy. So he was not printed custom for this campaign, like Thor's Hammer. Thor's Hammer was a middle school project, but Timothy Poppet, I found after running a program that would teach kids about what's going on at college, keep teaching high schoolers about what's going on in college. And when I made a pretty cool diorama with my team, some other team with the 3D printing section, they made Among Us and they left it behind and they painted it. I'm like, I'm taking this. Somebody took what I made because we left it unattended for like 5 minutes.
I remember hearing about that.
Josh found the body. Josh found the body.
I found the body. I did find the body. And I grabbed it and I was like, I'm using this campaign. It's awesome.
That's great.
And I think beyond that, that's mostly what I want to say about the D&D campaign.
Well, gamer family, sorry that Brandon couldn't be here, but life happens. But unfortunately, the Backlot's actually rented out by some schmuck making a RoboCop musical. The studio's being rented out, so we don't get enough of a tax break to keep the podcast going, as where we live, there aren't enough tax breaks for filmmaking, which is why nothing happens here. So I guess, we're being evicted, essentially, because RoboCop the musical, the movie, has to be filmed here. Hopefully this year. Description down below is my film channel, where you'll be able to find RoboCop the musical, the movie, as well as all my other film projects that were briefly mentioned here. Rewatch the D&D videos from Josh. I know he loves them. They're his babies.
I love them so much.
Rewatch them. And you heard it here. You heard it here in this video. D&D is going to be returning this year. And maybe even next year, too. And that's where it ends.